Had its first ever drug take-back day today.
And a pharmacist on campus shows us how to administer Narcan in case of a drug overdose emergency. I'm Genevieve Glass.
And I'm Chris Cheshire. See It Live starts now.
Trojans were encouraged to participate in USC's first ever drug take-back day today.
Anyone who wanted to hand over unwanted drugs could do so conveniently right here on campus. All 4 USC pharmacies participated in the drug take-back day, and signs were posted in the pharmacies encouraging students to drop off any extra prescription drugs. No question.
Yeah, so this is the first time we've had a drug take-back day at USC. Many communities across the nation participate in drug take-back days, and there's been other drug take-back days in Los Angeles. But we think it's important to have one that's really targeted for USC students, faculty, and staff.
All drugs collected today will be safely disposed of. This ensures that these drugs cannot be recirculated for future misuse by other students or anyone else.
According to the National Center on Addiction, college students are twice as likely to abuse drugs and alcohol than those who do not attend college. Students under a lot of pressure may turn to a drug like alcohol, which stimulates alertness and productivity. Students who are stressed and anxious often turn to a drug like Xanax, which is usually prescribed to people with severe anxiety or panic disorders. Unfortunately, students often pair drugs with alcohol, which can be deadly. We spoke to a student at another high-performing university to learn about the side effects of Xanax she's seen in her friends. She has asked to remain anonymous and for her voice to be altered.
I've had a close friend of mine slowly start using it for sleep, but as she started using it more, she obviously became way more reliant on it and just started craving it and taking 3 a day, forgetting what day it is, forgetting what she did yesterday, forgetting what she wore yesterday, the time flying by, literally just not knowing what's going on, drinking on it, having literally no recollection for 8 hours.
Unfortunately, Xanax and Adderall are extremely addictive. Both drugs produce unnaturally high levels of dopamine, which triggers a pleasurable feeling that causes users to come back for more. They're also super easy to come by on college campuses.
Drug use is prevalent in pop culture. Some argue that pop culture influences younger generations to try drugs. But as reporter Yannie shows us, there are artists speaking out against it.
17-year-old pop icon Billie Eilish released the music video for one of her hit songs, Yannie, today. In it, the singer speaks out against drug use. In an interview with The Guardian, Eilish says the song's message is less, don't do drugs, it's more, be safe. She continues, I don't want my friends to die anymore. While drug use is pervasive in pop culture today, it's a phenomenon that has been going on for generations.
I think a lot of people actually tie the legacy of certain celebrities to their death. Particularly in the music industry, it makes people more iconic. It's more so about the way they died. For some people, some segment of the population, that's a cool way to go out, and that becomes their enduring legacy.
Even with the knowledge that drug use can have serious consequences, some artists continue to promote it in a positive light.
I think it just makes for good drama. For one thing, it sells.
Pop culture is overwhelmingly influential. Even USC students agree that constant representation of drug use in the media can negatively impact the youth.
I think it's a factor that influences people wanting to do it because it looks cool to see celebrities doing it, and they want to too.
I think it's especially concerning because I do believe it kind of promotes it and makes it seem like it's cool.
If artists chose to use their platforms to talk about the negative effects of the drugs that they're rapping about and to create films, to engage the youth, I think it could be beneficial.
But the issue, according to Lee, is that some of the artists with the star power to change the conversation surrounding drugs are the ones consuming them. It seems as though Billie Eilish is one of a handful of artists speaking out about drug abuse. Some USC students believe more artists should take a page out of Billie's book. For Annenberg Media, I'm Yannie.
Synthetic opioids, like fentanyl, have become a huge problem in recent years. In 2016, they surpassed prescription opioids as the most common drug in overdose deaths. Fentanyl is about 100 times more potent than morphine, and it is much easier to accidentally take a lethal dose.
With fentanyl being almost 100 times more potent than morphine, you could imagine it doesn't take a lot to get tipped over. People don't realize their threshold, and horrible things can happen. You're in college, there's parties, there's music festivals, and people try things. And like I mentioned earlier, we're talking about things that have a very high dependence, very high tolerance, and those two words, like I said already, lead to addiction.
For most people, a lethal dose of pure fentanyl is tiny. Only 2 milligrams. Illegal drug makers often cut other drugs with fentanyl to increase their potency so they can sell less for more. Heroin is the drug most commonly associated with fentanyl, but some recent studies have shown an increase in overdoses caused by cocaine cut with a synthetic drug. The nonprofit organization PLA Health recommends that if you're gonna do drugs, you at least test them for fentanyl. Testing is as easy as dissolving some of the drugs in water and testing the solution with a strip to make sure it doesn't contain synthetic opioids. The test strips are available for free from PLA in Koreatown at the David Geffen Center and also in downtown LA at the Wilshire Dental Clinic.
Here on campus, The Haven is a resource for students dealing with substance use and mental health issues. ATVN's Hunter Patterson is at The Haven. Hunter, what can you tell us?
Thanks, Genevieve. I'm here at The Haven, which is located on the 4th floor of the University United Church. Now, I was able to catch up with Sophie Pine earlier today, who is the Director of University Relations here at The Haven, to get her opinion on what it was like going through the process, as well as how to spot early addiction in early behavioral addiction.
I actually went through The Haven myself here about 5.5 years ago, and I think that peer support is really important in terms of students who might be struggling because they're able to identify with another peer. And so for me, what was really important was seeing other people that look like me, that were students, that were going through similar struggles. You'll notice physical changes in their appearance. Their mood might be changed. Their mood might be changed. They might not be showing up to classes or activities that they typically are involved in. They tend to start to isolate from their communities, from their peers, from their friends. There are a lot of different resources here on campus at USC, including the USC Counseling Center, and then here at the Haven Outpatient Center. Students are able to walk in if they feel like they need support.
Now, according to the Addiction Center, 80% of college students have abused either drugs or alcohol. People like Sophie and places like the Haven are doing all that they can to combat those numbers and give students a sanctuary where they can come and rehabilitate themselves. So if you or anyone you know is struggling with substance abuse or mental health issues, feel free to stop by the Haven, which, as I mentioned, is on the 4th floor of the United University Church. For Annenberg Media, I'm Hunter Patterson. Back to you.
Harm reduction is a set of practices intended to reduce the negative effects of drug and alcohol use. Harm reduction methods are becoming increasingly popular as opioid deaths have skyrocketed across the country. Holistic healthcare advocates tabled today near Tommy Trojan to raise awareness about harm reduction.
So we understand that people are going to engage in risky behavior such as alcohol use, drug use, unprotected sex, and so we want to basically reduce the risk of those risky behaviors by providing alternatives or just safer ways of engaging in those activities. So for example, a big one that we do with people experiencing homelessness is needle exchanges. So I'm wearing a shirt right now that says "We Love Drug Users." It's from Homeless Healthcare of Los Angeles. They have so many locations in LA that basically will, if you bring your dirty needle, they will exchange it for you for a clean one, so that if you're using heroin, if you're using another drug that is intravenous, that you are not spreading HIV or any other type of disease. Other forms of harm reduction are basically condom use. Having a designated driver is like one of the easiest ways of practicing harm reduction.
A Keck professor of preventative medicine says it's important for people to think more openly about harm reduction.
A lot of these harm minimization approaches make sense. You just have to be willing to embrace having an adult conversation about it. And that's something that's hard for us to do in this culture. Look, I have a daughter who's a sophomore at a university, and, as a parent, certainly I'd rather have a difficult conversation about substance use rather than a dead child. So, when you when you weigh the decisional balance, it seems like it makes sense.
Giving people the resources to protect themselves and empowering them instead of stigmatizing their substance abuse will help normalize the conversation surrounding harm reduction.
While Drug Take-Back Day is an important opportunity, it's also critical to provide options for emergency situations. Reporter Haley Smith spoke to campus officials about overdose medications on campus.
The opioid crisis has become so prevalent nationwide that many college campuses, including USC, are now stocking an overdose medication called naloxone, or Narcan.
Fentanyl is really just arriving into the illegal drug supply in Southern California and Los Angeles now. So we're very concerned about that for our students and for our entire community, and we want to be proactive about overdose prevention.
Narcan is administered via nasal spray. USC's chief health officer says the school has made a concerted effort to let students know about the drug's availability.
Our pharmacies would never disclose private information, but they did share with us that after the community notification and the stories went out, there were a number of students who did come in and request it.
The word is getting out, which is great because that's the whole point, is that Narcan can save a life, and so the more people that know about it, the better.
But it's not just campus pharmacies that carry the drug. The USC Department of Public Safety began arming officers with Narcan 2 weeks ago.
So out of an abundance of caution, because of the emerging use of fentanyl, a very, very powerful opioid, we decided that our officers should carry an emergency package of Narcan. Is open the package, insert one end of the dispenser in a nostril of the victim, squeeze, and that distributes the dosage necessary.
On average, 130 Americans die every day from opioid overdose. It's important to know that Narcan is available without a prescription, and it is covered by the USC Student Health Insurance Plan. For Annenberg Media, I'm Haley Smith.
A group of local USC moms and dads have created a Facebook group where students can reach out for support. Last month, the group of parents were on campus handing out baked goods. We spoke to the creator of the group about students' struggles with substance abuse and how the moms and dads of USC are there to help.
As parents, we have to recognize that our kids, who are now adults, are undergoing tremendous amounts of stress that maybe we can't relate to. The only thing we can do is have an open dialogue. You're smart. You've got to USC. You've got to figure out better ways to cope with the stress. And the help is out there. It really is.
If you want to contact the local moms and dads of USC, head to their Facebook page at Local USC Moms and Dads on Call and join the group. They will be also serving hot cocoa during finals on December 11th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. on McCarthy Quad.
In Los Angeles public schools, substance abuse education begins really early. Some programs aimed at children are still in preschool. The LAUSD program director told us about the wide range of mandatory courses in the district.
Primary tool is going to be the health education textbook. And so the textbook is what we typically go to first, which provides us a different array of different themes as well. So all the themes are kind of covered in there. The difference being that our textbook is more of a content-driven resource, but what we're looking for when we're talking about substance abuse, which is more skill-driven education. So we use evidence-based interventions beyond the textbook to cover some of those components of it.
Program administrators say they are constantly on the alert for new drugs that could be a problem for students. And from everyone here, thanks for watching See It Live. This is the last Annenberg Media show of the decade. It's insane. It's been a crazy decade. I've only been here for 4 years, but
It's been a crazy decade, and it's been a really, really wonderful semester with you all. Thank you for tuning in, and you can always watch us on the web at uscannenbergmedia.com.
I'm Chris Cheshire.
And I'm Genevieve Glass.
Good night.